Everybody seated. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for attending this evening's school board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. Today, we have the invocation by someone who I consider a very good friend of mine. Thank you so much for appearing with us today. That is the Reverend Andy Oliver for Allendale United Methodist Church. That will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem. The national anthem will be sung by members of our very own Seminole High School, and they will have a second song that will be introduced by their choral director. If you would all please stand.
I have brought along with me my sons, Liam and Evan Oliver, who are in 5th and 3rd grade at Ridgecrest Elementary, who are going to help me give the prayer tonight. We pray in the name of the one who is called by many names, the best of which is love.
We pray for the earth and that our schools can teach us how to protect it. We give thanks that we can learn about animals, especially frogs.
And we pray that our schools and teachers are helping and inclusive of refugees. We pray for kids that come from different countries to not be fearful of being taken from their parents. We pray for kids who need more help learning English. May our schools be extra loving to people from different countries.
In a world that is rushed, may our children have time for play, recess, and friendships. In a world full of shame about our bodies, may our children know how to love their full selves, no matter their sexual orientation or gender identity. We give thanks for comprehensive sex education that doesn't erase LGBTQ children who are still learning who they are. In a world that is violent, may our children feel protected, free from the sight of guns. May our teachers be able to focus on teaching and not carrying the stress of wielding weapons. In a world that fights, may our children learn the ways of making peace. Where conflict arises, may restorative justice practices give the tools for loving one another. May we prioritize full implementation of these practices over suspensions, arrests, and expansion of the school-to-prison pipeline. In a world where Black and brown bodies are discriminated against and murdered, may we be bold in our words and practices and actions to proclaim that their lives do matter. May we do the hard work to dismantle white supremacy and racism so that all may truly have the same opportunity to live and to grow. And finally, we give thanks for those at this dais, in this room, for the teachers and administrators and students that they serve. May they always keep in mind those students at the margins in every policy. May the best that is in us, which is also named love, move us to lift everyone up. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. They went to practice over there.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. My name is Lauren Brodegum Cattell. This is my 8th year teaching in Pinellas County, and it's such an honor to sing for you all tonight. Our next piece that you're going to hear us sing is called Keep Your Lamps, and it's arranged by Andre J. Thomas, who is a former professor at Florida State. And this is a traditional spiritual. The background of this piece, the history of it is that slaves who are working in the fields had to communicate by code. They couldn't say, hey, I've heard the Underground Railroad is coming up soon. So instead, they would say, keep your lamps trimmed and burning. The time is drawing nigh. And those are the words for this song. Thank you.
Trimmed and burning, keep your lamps. Trimmed and burning, keep your lamps. Trimmed and burning, the time is drawing nigh. Keep your lamps. Trimmed and burning, keep your lamps. Trimmed and burning, keep your lamps. Trimmed and burning, the time is drawing nigh. Children weary, weary, children weary, till your work is done. Children weary, weary, children weary, till your work is done. Christian journey soon be over. Christian journey soon be over. Christian journey soon be over. The time is drawing nigh. Christian journey soon be over. Christian journey soon be over. Christian journey soon be over. The time is drawing nigh. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. The time is drawing nigh. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. The time is drawing nigh.
Thank you again so very much. That was absolutely wonderful. One of my favorite songs. You didn't even know that. Thank you so very much, the choral director Lauren Cattell, Seminole Singers, and thank you so much for both the national anthem and that wonderful song. Students, perfect. Great job. Thank you. I believe your principal is also here. I know that he'll probably be staying through the presentation for SR&R, but Principal Lucas is here as well, I believe, somewhere in the audience. She is. I'm sorry.
There she is.
Hey! Thank you so much for coming. We now have the video that we are more than excited to show you all for today. The Pinellas County School Board strongly supports professional development for all of our employees. The Certificate of Distinction program is an opportunity for our support employees to set goals for their professional and for their personal development and to choose classes that align with these goals. Level 1 participants are required to complete 65 hours of training, and Level 2 participants complete more than 150 hours of training in areas such as leadership, technology, and communication, including 30 hours of community service. Last week, we celebrated the latest program graduates. I believe that was at Banquet Masters and at a breakfast ceremony. Let's hear from a few of them now.
Hello, my name is Franca Girardi. I'm a licensed practical nurse and I work at Nina Harris Exceptional School. I just started about 9 months ago with the school district, and even though I'm a new employee, I wanted to do the Certificate of Distinction because my coworkers encouraged me to do so that I could continue my nursing career. They said even though you just completed school, the Certificate of Distinction has so many different types of programs of things that you may have never learned in school. Anything from computer to bullying to all different kind of programs. I got to meet a lot of people from different departments, and I got to understand how teamwork, like they say, makes the dream work, and how people from different departments come together for one common goal. And basically, I feel like it's an investment from Pinellas County Schools for their employees. I would encourage anybody to get their Certificate of Distinction. It's very important to continue and do lifelong learning and always continue for your success.
When I think of support employees that I respect, people who have been mentors to me and who have guided me in my career, the one common factor they all share is completion of the COD programs. My name is Shawn Alligood. I'm secretary to the Executive Director of Middle School Education, and I work in the administration building. My experience with the Certificate of Distinction program was a very positive one, both for Level 1 and for Level 2. And I appreciated the way that we were able to complete it self-paced, and so I really appreciated the way the district made it so attainable for everyone. Professionally, I feel that I've gained confidence and I've become much better at the programs I use on a daily basis, more familiar with policies and procedures in the district, which is very important for what I do. So overall, I feel like I've gained a much deeper understanding of the way that we do things and the importance of our policies. It's exciting to me that as much as I enjoyed the program and I learned so much about it, that there are more ideas coming down the pike to improve the program, and hopefully I can continue to be a part of that process.
My name is Sean Rick Lawrence, and I work in the position of an ESE Associate at Dunedin Highland Middle School. The Certificate of Distinction program lets you know that you are valuable in the position that you are currently working in. It allows me to have an opportunity to acquire new skills and opportunity to advance in possible leadership positions. I learned immediately about goal setting, how important goal setting is. Goal setting allows me to give me a clear direction on what the district wants me to do and what I need to do as a support employee. I love working with the children. The children makes the job a joy. I think that I'm a better person because of the Certificate of Distinction program, and I'm glad to have this opportunity to learn more and to develop my skills because of the Certificate of Distinction program.
That was absolutely wonderful. Now we will have an introduction of our professional and community organization representatives by Ms. Lisa M. Wolf Chasen, Public Information Officer. So how much longer are you with us?
This will be my last board meeting.
Oh,
yeah, so I'm here till Friday.
We love you, and we wish you well.
Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego and staff, it is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of Community and Professional Organization. Representing the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, Mike Gandolfo. With the Pinellas County Council of PTAs, Lawrence Claremont. Representing the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, Linda Crawley. And members of the media in attendance today include Angela Clooney with 10 News WTSP, as well as Sandra Weathers and Robert Bills of Bay News 9. Today, there will be a presentation from the Student Rights and Responsibilities Committee. Please welcome from Seminole High School, Brianna Pauley and Nicholas McClure. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brianna Pauley, and I'm a senior at Seminole High School. Being a Warhawk has offered me many amazing opportunities to do great things, such as being the Secretary of Student Government. I am in e-commerce and Cell Academy. I am a part of multiple amazing clubs, National Honor Society, National Technical Honor Society, and a new honor society for psychology. Lastly, I'm a captain of our softball team, which allows me to be part of Positive Coaching Alliance. These opportunities have led to a positive high school experience. Thank you for the time to share all the great things that are happening at Seminole High. I'm proud to be living the Warhawk way. Because our school spirit is second to none, we have been invited by the Mayor of Seminole to be ambassadors for the great city of Seminole's 50th anniversary celebration this year. Our senior class, student government, and athletic student leaders are cultivating a culture of positive vibes and a school-wide team spirit. The Warhawk Nation has experienced a surge in attendance and boasts capacity crowds at athletic events, art-based events, clubs, and community events. This Warhawk pride has expanded throughout the community with our new tradition of sponsoring a multi-generational family drive-in movie event each month. At our last event, we had 60-plus cars in attendance. We just had our annual Taste of Seminole event where over 30 restaurants and local chefs transformed the Warhawk Gym into a fantastic culinary experience for all. In a few short months, the dedicated alumni of Seminole High School will be staging the world's largest alumni event, in tandem with the City of Seminole and Seminole Parks and Rec. They are going for a world record. Our Warhawk Marching Band sponsored the 43rd Annual Seminole Sound Spectacular a few weeks ago, with bands attending from all over the Southeast. Seminole High School received the Golden School Award for 2019-2020 from the Department of Education for Leadership in School Volunteerism. Seminole High School, in competition with major corporations and adult nominees, were the recipients of the GTE Financial Community Partner of the Year Award. We won our homecoming game and had an amazing homecoming dance in September. Athletically, the Seminole Warhawk Nation has experienced an amazing 2019-2020 season so far. The girls' soccer team was part of the Sweet 16, our baseball team were Elite 8 finalists, and the boys' soccer team were in the Final Four for the state. Just a few weeks ago, the Warhawk boys 200 freestyle relay team shattered an SHS and PCAC record by 3 seconds. That's an eternity in the swim world. Seminole High School's junior, Austin Bybee, is the International Karate Federation 2019 World Champion in kickboxing. He is an official member of Team USA and is on track for U.S. Olympics stardom. Each one of our visual and performing arts groups qualified and performed at state-level competition, excelling in every genre: vocal, instrumental, orchestral, visual, and theatrical. Our color guard achieved World Guard International finalist status. The visual arts students presented their work at Carnegie Hall. Our Warhawk Marching Band is #1 in their class for the state of Florida. Seminole High School's partnership with the Dolly Museum, the Florida Orchestra, and the Strauss Center for Performing Arts still remains strong. Seminole High School is one of only 8 schools in the nation designated as a Model School of Excellence for 2019 by the International Conference for Leadership in Education. This honor is due to Seminole High's mission and success in getting students connected while achieving and sustaining academic, social, and emotional success.
Hi, my name is Nicholas McClure, and I'm the junior class president at Seminole High School. I'm involved in leading First Priority, which is a Christian club at our school, a member of the swim team, president of the prom committee, one of the founders of the Warhawk Shop Plus, a member of the National Honor Society, National Technical Honor Society, the academic team, theater, Key Club, Interact, and Chem Club. Along with that, I'm a member of the Cell Academy, which stands for Center for Education and Leadership, as well as the E-Commerce Academy. Our 7 academies, along with the AVID program and the 50-plus clubs on campus, provide students with a community of care and place to belong. There are so many different opportunities for students to get involved at SHS. Highlights of these programs that range from media technology to engineering and beyond include The IHOC Academy, which is known for personalized and project-based learning, celebrated its first graduating class and continues to expand their innovative internship and externship programs to solve global issues. We are the only Pinellas County school to broadcast live all stadium and gymnasium athletic events through a Pixelot technology partnership, aligned with the Seminole Sports Career Institute Academy. This broadcast and print journalism coverage and commentary is presented by students in tandem with professional mentors. At every football game, students from Sports Academy will cover the game, interview coaches, and host spirits events during halftime. The E-Commerce Academy has been named an Academy of Distinction through 2020. The creation of and innovation implementation of our online school store, the Warhawk Shop, was a student-driven effort. This innovation has streamlined virtually all financial services at our school. To date, the Warhawk Shop has sold over $388,000 in products like Warhawk gear, tickets to school events, and other items. The Warhawk Shop is led with students fully managing the store. The Warhawk Shop Plus was born out of a need for our community to have access to Warhawk Shop in a brick-and-mortar format. So during my sophomore year, I was in a class called Business and Entrepreneurship through our E-Commerce Academy. We were proposed to find a problem within the community and propose a solution to it. So we wanted the community to be more connected to Seminole High School, so we proposed having a brick and mortar store of our online shop so that the community and other members can come in and shop with us. So that's how the Warhawk Shop came to be. And from that iteration came the Warhawk Pop-Up Shop. So this pop-up shop is a cart we have that we bring to every football game, basketball game, sporting event, big event at our school. We pop-up shop with our cash register and racks of clothes, and that's how people who don't usually come to our school can shop with us. Another innovative idea that resulted from students' voice and choice came Wally's Food Joint. Students had to face many obstacles to make Wally's Food Joint a reality. They persevered because it's what they felt our students needed to improve safety, academic well-being, and attendance. Students met with local vendors and chefs and conducted taste tests, met strict food and nutrition standards to start Wally's. As a result of their hard work and effort, Wally's Food Joint has 3 local restaurants and chefs providing tasty and nutritional options for students every day at lunch. It's really a win-win. Because of the students' and teachers' amazing vision and success, and the administration team's motivation, the E-Commerce Academy at Seminole High School received the Florida Association for Career and Technical Education's Innovation Award. And this academy has been asked to present to the Florida School Boards Association in December. Our CEL students continue to lunch bunch with Bowder Elementary students to encourage 4th and 5th graders to attend school every day with a focus on literacy. They also mentor and work one-on-one with Bowder Elementary School students in their literacy circles to infuse the love and importance of reading. As a part of CEL, students volunteer at Ronald McDonald House and conduct positive projects throughout our school and community. CEL has opened the door to educational pathways and scholarship opportunities with SBC and USF. Over the past 2.5 years, our CEL students have earned over $1.75 million in scholarships. Academically, at Seminole High School, we have over 10 national and international honor societies. In 2019, we had a National Merit finalist and graduate, Julia Doyle. Chase Wiley is a senior that earned a perfect score on his U.S. History EOC this past spring. And we were just notified that Amanda Kelly received a letter of commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Program. Seminole High School overall has demonstrated unprecedented academic growth and gains in learning from the past year, particularly in the areas of science and English. Our overall graduation rate continues to soar in the high 95th percentile, and our African American graduation rate is 100% for the 5th year in a row. To live your life with purpose, respect, and grit is called the Warhawk Way. We as the Warhawk Nation claim this vision with a relentless team spirit. Thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to share the success and highlights of our school year so far.
Thank you so very much, Brianna and Nicholas. That was absolutely wonderful. And I see that your store has grown. When I visited the school some years ago, the only thing you had at the time were your prom tickets and your yearbooks. And I was also coming out to help with your girlfriends group. So now you have just really turned into your own mini mall. So congratulations. Great job. Great job. And Principal Jane Lucas, thank you so very much. I'm sorry I said he instead of she, but I know who you are. So please forgive me. Great job. Keep it up. Keep it up. Now we get to have an opportunity to move on to if there are any amendments to the agenda. Dr. Grego?
There are no amendments to the agenda.
No
Thank
amendments
you.
to the agenda. May I please have a motion for someone to adopt the agenda?
A motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion with a second to adopt the agenda as provided to us. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have any that are opposed? No one is opposed. It passes unanimously. Really quickly, I want to acknowledge someone I see in the audience. I was with them early this morning. It was Dre, right? Massa. I saw him, and I didn't see Sam from Community Tampa Bay. Oh, okay. From Community Tampa Bay, they also work with the Anytown program. They were at St. Petersburg High School, so I saw you in the audience. I just wanted to acknowledge your presence here with us on today. Thank you, because it's been a long day for you and the students and some students. Yes, you rock, definitely. Moving on to our special order agenda. For the first two items, we will remain here at the dais. For the next two items, we will go down and shake the hands of the persons that are here being recognized on today. So we have our recognition of National School Lunch Week. Dr. Grego.
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, it's always a pleasure to recognize our dedicated, hardworking food lunchroom workers. No matter what school, and I know you do the same, that you visit, you always go into the lunchroom and thank them because they work tirelessly to feed our children every day. We are the largest restaurant in this area. We feed more meals than anyone else. So I am very proud of the work we're doing. Lynn Geis, the Director of Food and Nutrition, I'm asked to present not only the proclamation, but I know you have some words of thanks and encouragement.
We do. Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Grego, staff. It's my pleasure to be here to recognize National School Lunch Week, which was held last week. The theme this year is what's on your playlist. So to recognize the changes that have occurred in our program over the years, it's not our school lunch program that we grew up with. There are definitely new things on the menu, new flavors, exciting things that the students have selected. Then we're pleased to recognize those endeavors with National School Lunch Week. School lunch provides fewer empty calories, more fruits, fresh fruits and vegetables, more fiber, more whole grains, lower sodium, and based on the nutritional guidelines of our program. And we're very pleased to offer the healthy meals that we have today. The campaign goal for National School Lunch is to promote our healthy menus, promote the profession of child nutrition in schools, and to increase lunch participation, increase awareness of our program with all of our stakeholders. We were pleased last week to have 17 schools throughout the district that actively took part in the themed event by engaging students in activities, contests, questionnaires, trivia, and a lot of fun. So we have a lot of pictures that you can see on the Pinellas School Nutrition Association Facebook page, and also the newsroom and the PCS Twitter and Facebook pages. With that, of course, as tradition, I would like to promote some of the also to tell you a little bit about what's on the playlist for our department this year. And with that, I have Tammy Ayette, nutrition educator and our master gardener. We'd like to share these meals with you. We are pleased to share these with you, which represent some of the newest additions to our program this year. We'll see a vegan menu. We have vegan chili with pico de gallo. It can be served hot or cold. It's very versatile on the menu. We have offered the vegan menu countywide this year, thanks to some of our chef managers who have designed the menu for us. We also, of course, continue with Harvest of the Month. You'll find a Florida tangerine. Tangerines are in season and being harvested in October. And to highlight our green initiative, we are started to replace some of our styrofoam, which lasts forever in the landfills, with a wheat straw carry-out container that is biodegradable, made in the USA. And we're very pleased to add these to our playlist this year. So it's my pleasure to be here representing over 1,000 child nutrition professionals in Pinellas County, who together are serving over 55,000 lunches a day, every day of the school year, and support with those meals, supporting 100% student success with the energy for education. So thank you very much.
Notice, Ms. Scott, you don't have your chef hat. You got the apron. You got the apron. Okay, so I need a hat and an apron. Yeah, I need a hat and an apron. All right, all right. Okay, okay. We'll pass these down.
No, for proclamation.
Yum, yum.
Give it to the. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna brag you guys. The salsa smells wonderful in here. Okay, so I don't have to go out for dinner. That's it.
You want one?
Two more. Two more.
Mr. Herbeck. Mr. Herbeck, your boss.
Here we go. Mr. Herbert.
Thank you. Thank you, sweetheart.
Going
I'm coming to get my apron. Thank you.
Dr. Corbett.
Thank
Dr.
you
Corbett
so
doesn't
much.
have one.
And while Ms.
Peanut butter
Lynn
and
Geis
jelly.
is making sure that Dr. Corbett gets his lunch, dinner, et cetera, for today, thank you all so very much. I
Thank you
had a chance to visit a couple of schools and was in the cafeteria and had a chance to sit down with some of the kids and eat and notice the new containers, which is absolutely wonderful when we're doing our part as it relates to the environment, so that's wonderful. But just still the interaction and seeing the variety. As a matter of fact, a young man was upset because they ran out of chicken nuggets. So, so thank you all so very much for what you're
It's one of the
doing.
most challenging things, but it's terrible to run out of chicken nuggets.
And likewise, thank you for the work too that you're doing with the Department of Agriculture with Nikki Freed and whatnot. She's, I think, just really trying to open up some new avenues for us to have some selections, and I think you guys are doing a wonderful job working with the Department of Agriculture, so thank you.
Thank you very much. We have been able to offer, in September, we offered fresh avocados for the very first time in our history. So it's just amazing. But that's the Harvest of the Month program.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
so much. Yes. Next, we have the presentation of the proclamation recognizing Lights On After School. Dr. Grego?
Yes, Madam Chair and school board members, as you know, after-school programs have become such an important part of our school district. After the final bell rings, we have in each and every one of our schools, elementary and most of our middles, we have after-school programs, some before. So this concept about after-school and the lights on recognizing is really an indication of how important this is. I want to ask Dr. Marlene Petitbois, who's the Assistant Director of Continuous Improvement, to come up and present this important recognition of our after-school programs.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego, and staff. Launched in October 2000, Lights On After School is a national event celebrating after-school programs and the important role they play in the lives of children, families, and communities. The effort has become a hallmark of the after-school movement. On Thursday, October 24th, the 20th annual Lights On After School initiative will again highlight the remarkable work being done by scholars who attend after-school programs. In Pinellas County, we are very proud of our scholars and their after-school program. Our district is committed to ensuring all scholars have access to quality after-school programming. As a district, we believe learning doesn't need to stop when the traditional school day ends. So our scholars are participating in small group tutoring, online digital learning, STEM programs, and enrichment activities before and after the school day and during the summer. Pinellas County School has established strong partnerships in support of after-school programs in collaboration with the Juvenile Welfare Board, Art Club Child Care, YMCA of Greater St. Petersburg, YMCA Suncoast, and the City of Dunedin. Together, these organizations work with our schools to ensure our scholars have year-round access to educational and enrichment activities. Today provides us with a perfect opportunity to recognize and thank our partners. Present with us today are Desmond Newton, Juvenile Welfare Board, Amy Shore, Art Club, Barbara White, YMCA Greater St. Petersburg, and Beth Gettig, YMCA Suncoast. Thank you. In preparing the PowerPoint for you with some highlights of our extended learning programs, I kept thinking about the spirit of our after-school programming and the 2019 Beyonce song Spirit, saying, "Rise up to the light in the sky. Watch the light lift your heart and burn your flame through the night." Each time I look at the smiling faces of these scholars, I celebrate their spirit and the light in their eyes. But even more so, it emphasizes the importance of providing opportunities for our scholars to explore their talents and passions. This October 24th, I invite you to join in celebrating Lights On After School. Let's acknowledge the achievement of our scholars and proclaim our commitment to extended learning programs. Let's continue to keep our lights on and our doors open and help our scholars catch up, keep up, and get ahead. Thank you.
We have a presentation related to this celebration as well, and School Board Member Lisa Kane will read the proclamation.
Proclamation Lights On After School. Whereas the Pinellas County School Board stands firmly committed to quality after-school programs and opportunities because they provide safe, challenging, engaging, and fun learning experiences to help students and youth develop their social, emotional, physical, and cultural, as well as academic skills. Support working families by ensuring their children are safe and productive after the regular school day ends. Building stronger communities by involving our students, parents, business leaders, and adult volunteers in the lives of our young people, thereby promoting positive relationships among children, youth, families, and adults. Engage families, schools, and diverse community partners in advancing the welfare of our children. And whereas all of our community after-school programs provide significant leadership in the area of community involvement in the education and well-being of our youth, grounded in the principle that quality after-school programs are key to helping our children become successful adults. And whereas Lights On After School, a national celebration of after-school programs on October 24th, promotes the critical importance of quality after-school programs in the lives of children, their families, and their communities. Whereas more than 28 million children in the United States have parents who work outside the home, and 15.1 million children have no place to go after school. And whereas many after-school programs across the country are facing fundamental shortfalls so severe, they're being forced to close their doors and turn off their lights. Now therefore be it resolved that the Pinellas County School Board urges the citizens of Pinellas County to ensure that every child has access to a safe and caring environment, engaging place where the lights are on after school. And be it further resolved that the Pinellas County School Board enthusiastically endorses Lights On After School and is committed to quality after-school programs and activities that ensure the lights stay on and the doors stay open for all the children after school.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reading that proclamation. Do we have a motion to accept the proclamation?
I motion to accept.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion with a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And thank you also very much from the various before and after school facilities, the Y as well as our club. This is the first event where we have the recognition for our club that Art wasn't sitting in that second row. So that's why I had to kind of look down a little bit. But thank you so much for coming in for representing our club on today. And thank you to each and every one of you. Now, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and go down because we have the presentation of Academies of Distinction Awards as well as the introduction of our newly appointed administrators.
Smile, girl, smile. Yeah, I know, yeah. Board members, it gives me great honor to present Mr. Mark Hunt and also Alex McKenna, who's the co-chair of the Career Ed Board with the Pinellas Educational Foundation. I certainly don't have to express to this board, but mainly to this audience, of the tremendous commitment that our school district has with academies and career and technical education throughout all of our high schools. And this is a culmination of some of the most excellent career academies throughout our district. So
Thank you.
who's going first? Mr. McKenna?
I'm going first.
All right, very good.
Like it or not.
Welcome.
Madam Chair, let me begin with a very generous thank you to the board for allowing me to speak on behalf of the Stavros Career Education Board. Established by the superintendent and funded through the Pinellas Education Foundation, our main purpose is to advocate for career education opportunities for students in Pinellas County schools, particularly academies of Pinellas programs which support the foundation's mission of accelerating educational achievement for all students. I would also like to acknowledge committee members here with us today and ask them to stand when their name is called. Joe Baker, Sherry Baum, Lawrence Claremont, Glenn Gifford, Dr. Michael Grego, Mark Hunt, Jonas, and Monty Trammer. On behalf of my colleagues, I am pleased to recognize 8 academy programs at 4 schools which have been nominated as academies of distinction. Modeled after the National Career Academy Coalition's national standards of practice for career academies, academies of distinction provide students with a 21st century industry-based education, allowing them to segue to post-secondary opportunities which complement their interest and academic preparation. Working closely with the district's Career, Technical, and Adult Education Department, the Stavros Career Education Board selects Academy of Distinction programs for a 2-year term, after which programs may be reconsidered for another term. During site visits last spring, the Career Education Board visiting teams were impressed by the strength of each of these academy programs as measured by a comprehensive scoring rubric evaluating business and post-secondary partnerships, curriculum integration, work-based learning opportunities, personal student advisement, industry certification achievement, cohort scheduling, alignment with high-pay, high-demand careers, and appropriate certifications achieved by program instructors. It's my pleasure to announce these outstanding academies. Each of the programs is earning this honor for the first time, and I'm very excited that for the first time ever in our district, we are recognizing a middle school as an academy of distinction. And that, my friend, is the beginning of a bow wave, and a good one at that. This accolade illustrates the significant growth of career academy learning across our district. I'm going to ask Mark Hunt to invite the principals of each of the schools to accept a special Academy of Distinction banner from the board. Mark.
Thank you, Alex. For our first Academy recognition from Eastlake Middle School, the Academy of Engineering, we have Principal Karen Husar and Greg Stewart, the Engineering Department Head. If you all will come forward. If you will go on up front, we want to get a picture of you with a banner. Never miss an opportunity for photos.
Where do you want me to?
Wherever you'd like to.
Oh, I'm going to go with all of these now, right?
There, yeah.
Okay.
These banners are displayed at the schools. You can hang them on their flagpole or display them inside the building someplace. This is the hardest part about the whole Academies of Pinellas thing, is taking the picture of the banner. Great, thank you. And next up, Next up is Richard O. Jacobson Technical High School at Seminole, and representing 4 academies at Jacobson. To start out with is Principal Marty Giancola. If we'll have her come forward. And we'll introduce each of their academies, and we'll do a picture with each. The first we want to recognize is the Academy of Gaming, Simulation, and Programming with Dr. Jody Kirk. Congratulations. Great. And next up from Richard O. Jacobson is the Academy of Construction Technologies and Electricity with Mr. Vincent Volpe. All right. Next up from Jacobson is the Commercial and Digital Arts Academy with Mr. Chris Jewell.
Congratulations.
And rounding out the recognitions for Jacobson High School is the Veterinary Assisting Academy with Miss Peggy Byram and Kelsey Cart. Kelsey, make it? Okay. Great. Good job, Jacobson. Our next school to be recognized is Osceola Fundamental High School with Principal Michael Bonet and Assistant Principal Daniel Smidell. And we're going to recognize this evening 2 academies from Osceola. The first academy to recognize from Osceola will be the Culinary Arts Academy with Chef Timothy Fitzpatrick, Chef Christopher Long, and Samantha West, a culinary student and the Culinary Club president.
Thanks for being here.
All right. The next honoree from Osceola High School is the Center for Technology, Entertainment, and Design, also known as CTED. And tonight, representing the CTED tribe are Courtney Thompson, business education teacher, Jerry Eaton, business ed teacher, Jack Mathias, Deborah Rain, students William Pate, Hannah Topol, and Jeremiah Webb.
Yeah, I know. I thought they were Cubs shirts. Yeah. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you, Osceola High School. And our final school to be recognized this evening is Tarpon Springs High School. Our principal, Lisa Fatalidis, will be representing the Veterinary Science Academy. And also Assistant Principal Lisa Lennox is here representing the Veterinary Assisting Academy. Thank you all very much. And to close it out, Dr. McKenna.
Thanks, everyone, and again, thank you for the opportunity. It's indeed a privilege to acknowledge and celebrate these 8 programs this evening. And I would be remiss if I didn't take time to thank the principals, teachers, and administrators for their incredible efforts in creating and maintaining career academy programs with the highest standards for the benefit of the students of the Pinellas County School District. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. McKenna, and thank you to the Pinellas Education Foundation for your long-term commitment to career and technical education. Our final recognition, board members, is, and I want to always thank you for this time of introducing newly appointed administrators. We have 3, and when I call their names, if you please come up and be welcomed by our board, I would certainly appreciate it as I read just a short bio. The first administrator I'd like to call upon is Jacqueline or Jackie Cassidy, the new principal of Nina Harris Exceptional Student Education. She began her employment in Pinellas County Schools in 2016, served as the assistant principal at Richard L. Sanders Exceptional Student Education until she was appointed as principal in Nina Harris Exceptional Student Education. Her background also includes serving as a classroom teacher in Virginia, a reading and math RTI coordinator, assistant principal in Colorado, and a classroom teacher and math coach in Pasco County Schools. She earned her bachelor's degree in human resource management, a master's in curriculum instruction from Colorado Christian University, and in ed leadership and ed administration from the University of Phoenix. Congratulations, Ms. Cassidy. Next recognition is Brian Doughty, Director of Network and Telecommunications. Brian began his employment in Pinellas County Schools in 2010. He served as a network administrator from 2013 until he was appointed as Director of Network and Telecommunications effective October 9th of this year. His background includes serving as Network Administrator Apprentice and Design Engineer Contract Administrator for Shared Technologies Incorporated. He earned his bachelor's degree in business administration with specialization in Spanish from the University of Florida. Brian, congratulations. Our final recognition is Thomas Mark Hagewood. I think everyone knows him as T. Mark. Began his employment in Pinellas County Schools in 2005. He served as the Executive Manager of Transportation Services from 2007 until he was appointed as Director this past October 1. His background also includes serving as a route and safety auditor. He served as transportation coordinator in Palm Beach District Schools and as a bus driver, dispatcher, driver supervisor, and training safety coordinator for Metropolitan Nashville Board of Education Transportation Department. He earned his bachelor's degree in political science from Western Kentucky University. Congratulations, Mr. Hagewood. Board members, that concludes our recognitions. Thank you very much. Special thanks to the teachers and students who came out with the Academies of Distinction. Very, very much appreciated.
All right, thank you so very much. That was really nice. Moving on to our public comments on the agenda items. Ms. Simonetti, do we have any speakers signed up today?
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have 2 speakers for specific agenda items this evening. I have Ryan Hazinski will speak to non-consent item number 2, and Mark Clutho will speak to consent number 10, consent number 12, and non-consent number 1. Is Mr. Hazinski here?
Either one, sir.
Good afternoon, honorable board members, Superintendent Grego, staff, parents, anybody else who's in the audience. My name is Ryan Hazinski, and I am a 16-year veteran educator from Hillsborough County. I've come here today because I'm driving around and visiting a lot of the local school boards to speak about some very dire issues. 8.2, here you are applying for grants. We are obviously in desperate need of funding, which I'll get to in a moment. Plutarch tells us that the mind is not a vessel that needs filling, but wood that needs igniting. Are we really doing that with what Florida education has become at this point? Some of you recently left the classroom. You know what we're really doing, testing. It's all we do is make kids suffer through testing. At my school last year, 22% of the days, 39 days, there was some kind of standardized test administered to a child. And it's not just the testing, as you know. There's progress monitoring and everything else. And kids are stressed out in a way that, to me, this is child abuse at this point. It really is. I've heard stories from parents about young child vomiting before the FSA because of being so nervous. One of my good friends talked about her daughter in 4th grade who developed a disorder where she was pulling out her hair, her eyelashes, bald, because of iReady and FSA and FAIR and all these other things. This is so not right. And why are we in this position? Really, when you think about it, it's because for 20 years, and especially the last decade, for the performance pay movement and all the accountability that came with it. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. This is an opportunity during our board meeting for you to address an agenda item. Each speaker is given 3 minutes. You've now used over half your time.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to speak to the Pathways to Career Opportunities grant, I would suggest you move towards that now.
Yes, sir. The point being is that the funding is all involved in this. I mean, here we are applying for grants. I've been to districts that require donations. We have a $1 trillion economy that is the 4th biggest in the U.S. and the 17th largest in the world. And we're yet 45th in public education spending, 48th in average teacher pay, 50th dead last in adjusted for inflation spending. And it's no wonder why we need these grants. We need every penny that we can get because there's nothing else to be done except to take a stand. And that's primarily why I'm here, to ask you to stand with teachers, with educators, everybody in here, an adult who touches the life of a child.
Sir, you strayed away from, because if you want to speak specific to anything related to the grant that we're writing and presenting, I understand your
Yes, ma'am.
passion. I understand.
May I wait for general comment?
You can speak at the end. We do have an opportunity where persons can speak at the end of our meeting on a subject that's not on the agenda. So yes, sir.
Okay.
You most certainly can make sure you fill out a card.
Yes, ma'am.
So that you can speak at the end on the topic that you're currently speaking.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry,
but we appreciate you. That's okay. Every district is different.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that as I go. So I'm sorry for interrupting,
No,
and
no
I
problem.
will wait
No
for
problem.
general comment.
We
Thank you,
appreciate your
sir.
passion.
Yes,
we appreciate. Make sure you fill out that card.
Yes, ma'am.
If I could ask individuals, if you have your cell phone, to please turn it on vibrate, if you will. That way, when persons are speaking, it won't interrupt them or. Mr. Clutho, we love you. We're going to give you your time. How about that, y'all? It was me. I put it on vibrate and it's still wrong. So I apologize to everyone sitting here. That was me. Mr. Clutho, thank you so very much for being patient and waiting on us. We appreciate that.
Mark Clutho, Largo. $414 for construction management for windows and building envelope replacement. Oh boy. Yeah, and the building will be right when you're finished? I doubt that seriously. And then St. Petersburg High School, completion of the 3rd floor of Building 4. Yeah, I've been by there. Not right. No. And then 8.1, request approval of the proposed 5-year capital outlay plan and adoption of the tentative 5-year facilities work program. One word to describe that: debacle. One big debacle. Correlation. What you do here, what does that give us? Climate panel foresees big trouble as Earth warms. Yeah. That's what you give us with your plan. A big joke because you ignore science that I have been bringing for nearly 20 years. I mean, there isn't an excuse. And you lie and say things that you're doing are right. It's a doggone shame. It is alarming to read such a thorough cataloging of all the serious changes coming in the planet. What's particularly disturbing as a scientist is that virtually all of these changes were predicted years or decades ago. But you keep doing the same thing. Einstein said that's something like insanity.
Thank you. Do we have any more speakers? No more speakers. Thank you so very much, Mr. Clutho. We appreciate it. Do we have any unfinished business?
No. No.
No
ma'am.
unfinished business? Thank you so very much. Huh?
Oh, we have two, I'm sorry. Yes, we
Yeah.
have two items, 6.1 and 6.2.
Before we begin those, Ms. Latino, you had your light?
Can come and speak.
Okay, moving on
They
to
will- they will be.
our unfinished
They will be.
business items.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. 6.1 considers, this is second reading of a policy change, policy number 2250, fundamental schools magnet programs and career academies. As you know, both Mr. Hendrick and Ms. Trakowski covered these changes. I'm going to ask during our recent workshop that before they come to the board, and I think it's always very important for the public to know that this board reviewed all of these policy changes, both 6.1 and 6.2. We had a single reading, we went to a workshop, and now this is a second reading. There are no changes from that first, by the way, board members. So I'm going to ask Mr. Hendrick and Ms. Trakowski to review this.
Thank you, Dr. Grego, board members. As Dr. Grego said, Policy 2250 covers fundamental, magnet, and career academy programs. As you know, our district application programs are in policy, and there's a procedures manual that's referenced that highlights the specific changes this evening. As Dr. Grego said, we brought this to the school board workshop on August 20th. We had the first reading here at a board meeting on September 10th, and tonight we present the second reading without any changes between the first and second reading. Here to share some of the specific highlights and changes in the district application program procedures is our district application program specialist, Ellen Truskowski.
Board members, Dr. Grego. Basically, we have a couple new additions to the magnet programs. We have at Garrison Jones a dual language program, as well as turning the Center for Literacy Innovation into a magnet program at Elisa Nelson. Other changes are we had a name change with Kings Highway, going from the Center of Innovation and Digital Learning to the Center of Digital Learning and STEAM, as well as communications added to the journalism programs at Lakewood, John Hopkins, and Melrose. We had some language making sure that we're in full compliance with the IDEA, Individuals with Disability Education Act, and then some other clarifying language to help understand the end of the year process, which we typically get some parent phone calls and asking for clarification. Other than that, there's no additional changes. No changes have been called in, so any questions?
Do we have any questions from board members as it relates to this specific item? Do we have any speakers from the audience on this item?
No speakers for this public hearing.
I move we accept it as submitted.
There's a motion, there's a second. There's a motion with a second that we accept this item as it's been submitted and presented, and this is the final public hearing on this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And for our second item?
Second item, 6.2, I'm going to ask Mr. Kapersky to just review, as he went over during the same workshop, in fact, the non-discrimination and access to equal educational opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Grego. Madam Chair and board members, this is the second reading. We've discussed this policy. In the most recent past legislative session, the legislature amended the Florida Educational Equity Act to add religion as a basis upon which school boards and school districts may not discriminate. So we are amending our Educational Equity Act policy to add that, but I want to reassure again the board members and the public that we have over a dozen other school board policies that already prohibit religious discrimination, and this will not change our practices. We've never have done that, and we do not do that now or in the future, but this is simply a requirement because the legislature has changed one particular statute.
Exactly. We just need to make sure that we're in line.
Right.
Move for approval.
Do we have any speakers from the audience?
Board member and Dr. Grego, we do have one speaker for this public hearing, Mr. Mark Clutho.
Since Bill Dudley has made a motion, may I get a second for the purposes of discussion so that we can have our speaker presented? Thank you. Mr. Mark Clutho, are
Mr.
you out there?
Clutho, for the public hearing?
I heard what, I read your lips. I'll just make a comment while we're waiting on Mr. Clutho. I want to be fair. If there's anyone that does desire to speak on any other topic other than what's on our agenda, please make sure that you fill out the appropriate card so that that information gets to Ms. Ann Simonetti and we don't miss you and you miss your opportunity, please.
Can we move to the consent? Let's move to the consent while he's waiting.
If you would take your call to question back, we'll go ahead and move to consent agenda. Can I?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and move to consent agenda because I don't want to, I've done this for another guest in the audience, and so I do want to be fair at how we relate, yeah. So for the consent agenda, I want to go ahead and table the item that we just had before us. We will hold the motion with the second for purposes of discussion so that Mr. Clutho can present himself. But for the consent agenda, do I have a motion with a second to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second? We have a motion with a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Do we have any that are opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I do believe we've given ample time. I've tried to hold off. So we have a motion with a second to go ahead and approve for the second public hearing record on item number 6.2 for non-discrimination and access to equal education opportunity. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Do we have any that are opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much for your patience, and also for the audience, thank you for your patience. Moving on to the non-consent agenda, request approval of the proposed 5-year capital layout. Do we have?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is I'm happy to present the 5-year capital plan. I know that we have taken this off the agenda the last 2 board meetings because the State Department just wasn't ready for it to populate the fields. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Smith, our Chief Finance Officer, to present this to you for your vote tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Grego, Madam Chair, board members and staff. As Dr. Grego mentioned, this is an item that typically gets approved the night of the public hearing on that board meeting. However, the utility that we used to create the 5-year facilities work program was unavailable due to technical issues. This is a requirement by DOE that we submit a 5-year capital outlay plan and facilities work program each year and approve it by the board. The technical issues were resolved on the week of October 9th, so we were able to prepare the plan, and the facilities work plan contains a few key elements which enable us to do the program, the 5-year capital outlay program. Absent that, we can't complete it, so to Dr. Grego's point, that's why we're bringing it to here tonight. The 5-year capital outlay plan maintains balanced priorities of projected revenue by year over the 5-year period. The facility work program incorporates the proposed 5-year capital outlay plan as prescribed by DOE. The plan includes increased revenue from the local 1.5 mil revenue or millage levy as a result of the increased tax roll. It does not include PICO funding, as the state did not allocate any PICO funding to traditional schools. They allocated some to charter schools but none to traditional schools. It includes a second round of bonding, which is anticipated to be approximately $72 million over the next 5 years, and it also adds the addition of a 5th year, which is the 2023-24 school year. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Do we have any questions or comments by any board member? Do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion with the second to approve our 5-year capital outlay plan. And again, thank you to everybody for your patience. We just needed to make sure that the state had its information correct before we presented our information and voted accordingly. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Do we have any that are opposed? Ms. Lentino, I do apologize. You had your light right before Mr. Evans stood up.
Right.
Was that for an item, or is that for your information, like your report at the end?
Yeah, I wanted my report at the end.
Okay, so I'll call you first when we get
Okay.
to the end for your report.
All right, thanks.
All right, and I do apologize.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the request for approval to apply for the Pathways to Career Opportunities Grant.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm going to ask Mark Hunt to just review this. This is an exciting grant opportunity that we're actually going to be focusing on growing our own teachers and the transition to teacher program, both in and out of career technical education. Mr. Hunt is taking the lead on this, and we're very excited about the application.
Great. Mrs. Flowers, board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. This grant opportunity comes from the governor's initiative to expand career and technical opportunities throughout the state, and he funded a $10 million pot for career opportunities. And we wanted to take the opportunity to try and access some of these funds to provide the resources and materials to help us develop a high school teacher assisting program pathway for students that are interested in becoming teachers. The concept is to use the funds to develop that career pathway more acutely, increase the marketing and promotion to high school students that are in teacher assisting programs now, and further develop the concept of potentially a teacher apprenticeship in the school district for teachers in Pinellas County schools. So that way we can begin to solidify that pathway and, as Dr. Grego mentioned, grow our own and have a more stable path in supply of new teachers in the school district.
That's fabulous. Yeah, that's great news. Great news. Do we have any comments, questions, concerns by any board member? Nope. Do we have a motion with a second? There's a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have any that are opposed? No opposed. Motion carries unanimously. That is absolutely wonderful. So
Great.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Request approval of the 2020-2021 instructional calendar.
Yes, it's hard to believe, Ms. Texel and Mr. Richmond.
This year is like
Thank you to the board, and really thanks to a lot of organizations, of Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, our parents, our faith-based leaders, and many others. As you see from the agenda item, this is a fairly large committee, and Dr. Carr, I believe you represented the school board on this committee too, so thank you. And so, Ms. Texel?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. I, along with David Richmond, who is our Managing Officer for Payroll Services, are here to present the recommendation for the 2020-2021 instructional calendar and special observance days. As Dr. Grego mentioned, a committee was formed, and we met 2 times to review the recommendation and the drafts for our calendar for this year, for the 2021 school year. Those members then, once they reviewed the options, took it back to their stakeholder groups to receive input from those groups. And during the second meeting, that input was shared and a recommendation was formed. So you do have that information in your packet of some drafts, but I wanted to highlight a couple of, highlight some of the dates for that calendar year. It has a school start date for instructional staff on Monday, August 3rd, 2020, and for students on Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. There are 7 days of pre-planning for our 10-month teachers, which, as you know, has been implemented for the past several years, and we continue to receive feedback from our instructional staff that this is a great amount of time to get ready for the students when they arrive that Wednesday, August 12th. So we want to maintain that option for them. The year is broken up into 86 days for first semester and 94 days for second semester, which is similar to this year. And that does allow, as a reminder, for all of our exams to be held prior to the winter break. That was something else that we hear loud and clear from our stakeholder groups. As we have done in the past several years, the potential hurricane makeup days are also listed. That is for everyone out there to know that these are potential days if and when a school needs to be canceled for those storms, and if makeup days are required. So we have listed those dates, and you see those on the page. We do have the Thanksgiving break listed between November 21st and November 29th. We have a winter break from December 19th with 10-month instructional staff returning that Monday, January 4th, 2021, and students returning on Tuesday, January 5th. We have a spring break in the middle of March, from March 13th to March 21st, and importantly, a school ending date that year for students on Thursday, May 27th, 2021, and for 10-month instructional staff the following day on Friday, May 28th. Again, the committee felt very strongly that we maintain an appropriate number of days in May to allow for our students to have the best environment possible for those testing dates. And as we know, our testing is now mainly May 1st to the 28th, so we wanted to make sure we had enough days for students to take those in an appropriate setting. We know that families and staff have been anticipating this release. We got a call actually this afternoon right before I came up to the board meeting asking if the calendar has been put out, so I know they are waiting for this, and we just appreciate your consideration of this request.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I know we talked about these. Dr. Carr?
I just want to commend you and the committee for putting students first. There were a number of different groups involved and folks who had different concerns or issues and brought them back and were well represented, but just really focusing on the needs of the students and that being the driving force in how we make our decisions. So thank you very much for that coordination. And it is a lot to hold all of that together, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, do we have a motion with a second to accept the 2020-2021 instructional calendar? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 8.4, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement for core curriculum, promotion, the whole nine. It's a very long paragraph, so I won't read the whole thing, but Dr. Grado.
Yes, Madam Chair, yeah, this 8.4, as also 8.5 and 6 are policy changes. I'm going to ask Ms. Dull, Jennifer Dull, who is the Director of Strategic Planning and Policy, to kind of orchestrate the next three. There'll be other individuals that will be joining her for any questions. The first one deals with our pupil progression plan and some of the changes that happened this past session. So, Ms. Dull.
Madam Chair, board members, staff, and community. Today we bring forward agenda item 8.4 for the consideration for setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement for this public hearing. The first agenda item for 8.4 is a number of policies. They were workshopped with the board on October 15th, last Tuesday. Each year, and the reason these policies are bundled together, the district reviews policies in alignment with our legislative updates, as well as district and state practices and that happened in our schools each day. The proposed amendments within these series of policies align to the student progression plan, but also some policies that are very closely tied to both the student code of conduct and the progression plan. So an overview of those changes are policy 5410.10. We added language that updated the requirements for good cause exemptions for English learner students for third grade mandatory retention. For 5410.02, we added language regarding state requirements for career and education planning for middle school and social studies classes. In 5430, we added language detailing what courses can be omitted for the sole purpose of calculating valedictorian and salutatorian in our high schools. In 5500.05, we added language citing recent legislative standards on state reporting of student attendance. And in 6152, we added language detailing fee requirements for advanced place exam fees. So with that, I'll bring this for your approval today.
This is just the first reading of this item. The public will be able to speak when we have it brought up on the second item. But do we have any questions from any board members? I know that we workshopped this, but are there any questions or other additives from board members?
For public, for all of these policies, and I'll reiterate in all of them as well, second reading would take place tentatively scheduled for our board meeting in December.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much.
Move approval of all of the policies that have been just addressed.
Thank you. There's a motion with a second. Carol and Eileen, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Next.
Okay, next item is 8.5, and this is setting a public hearing also for consideration of creating a policy centered around the medical marijuana use for qualified students in schools. Ms. Dahl?
Yes. Again, this policy was brought forward at the October 15th workshop and would be bringing forward for second reading in December. This policy is being proposed due to recent legislative actions, specifically the 2017 Senate Bill 8A in Section 1006.0628 of the Florida statutes requiring adoption of such policies. Policy codifies current district initiatives in this area, and in preparation for this policy regarding medical marijuana use by qualified students in schools, we reviewed not only draft policies from other districts, but policies that were voted on by other school boards in the state of Florida. Policy includes definitions, sections that include definitions, administration of such medical marijuana on school property. Please note that within the policy it does say that no school staff or administration or administrators are permitted to administer, store, hold, or transport the medical marijuana in any form. Another section within that is outlined in the creation of this policy are the responsibility of caregivers and adult students, which include producing their current Department of Health registry ID card and complying with proper location and time for administration. Additional sections are around principals and administrative responsibilities, as well as consequences for rule violations outlined in this policy. Again, this is for first reading and setting a public hearing for the creation of this policy with tentatively second reading in our meeting in December.
Any other questions from anyone to dais? Do we have a motion for the second, moving this on to the second reading?
Move approval of the proposed medical marijuana policy.
It's been motioned by School Board Member Carol Cook, second by Eileen Long. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Do we have any that are opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
The third policy is the setting of the hearing, public hearing, considering the amendment to the policies number 6424, purchasing cards, and 6320, the purchasing and bidding. And I know that Jennifer will introduce this, and also Linda Falcom is here.
Again, these two policies were put in front of the board in October 15th workshop, and the amendments to these policies align with current purchasing cards and district taggable asset limits. Policy 6424 around purchasing cards, it aligns with the district just going through the process of getting a new P card administrator, and it allows us to set the taggable limit up to $1,000, so it moves the limit from $749 to $999. In policy 6320, this aligns with changes within the federal grant procurement procedures, allowing for micro purchases thresholds to move up to $10,000. Again, second reading would be within our meeting in December.
Thank you very much. Any questions by board members? Do we have a motion with the second moving this forward? I have a motion and a second to my left. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. And I have to say, Ms. Linda Balcom, you do a really good job in the purchasing department, so thank you. Everybody does a good job, but I know I bug you a lot. Moving on to new business, any items introduced by the superintendent?
Yes, Madam Chair and school boards, to say that the last few weeks have been busy would be an understatement. We've had so many events, and I always want to start out by saying thank you for dividing and conquering and really truly being representative of our entire district. I too want to thank you for the certificate of distinction. Not only your attendance, but your support. This is one of, we don't realize this sometimes, but I believe we're the only district that offers that. And just a way of promoting professional development of all employees. So I want to say thank you. I know that Ms. Flowers read the number of hours and the dedicated service, and it's not easy to get those levels. So thank you for your support of that. Also want to recognize our ESOL department. We run each year, and last week was no exception, the Community Resource Fair. Was held this October 15th at St. Petersburg College, Clearwater campus. And our ESOL department partnered with 50 district departments and community organizations, and this place was absolutely jammed with community members, our parents, and our students. Nearly 170 people signed in to this fair, with a dozen more in attendance. And I want to always thank, and what the great job she does, Natasha Karak, Dr. Karak, for her work, tireless work in terms of serving our ESOL population. We also, Lynn Mowat had over 300 people attend their ESE College and Career and Life Fair this October 17th in Pinellas Park High School. Students came from 25 different district schools, and parents and students attended this tremendous fair where you're able to explore opportunities in post-secondary education. We also talk about post-secondary education. This past week, we celebrated the grand reopening of Pinellas Technical College in their Clearwater campus, and what a tremendous celebration. A lot of things were going on that evening, but after 18 months, about $18 million, we reopened Technical College. I can say to you, is second to none. We have over 30 technical programs there. Thank you to Mr. Herbick's department, Mr. Hunt, Jake Prokoff, the principal, and many of the teachers and students that showed, and just the testimonies that were given that evening to open up the technical college. Both technical colleges work so well, both the one in St. Pete and Clearwater. The same evening, we had Girlfriends Club being inducted ceremonies. We had 5,000 role models, where over 200 young men joined and gave the oath to the 5,000 role models. 150 girls took the Girlfriends oath. So this is what I was speaking about. That same evening, we had so much going on. In fact, that same evening, I ran over to the 11th annual Nope Candlelight Vigil, and this board was praised by Lori and Mark Serra, who continued to do such a remarkable job. And for those of you who don't remember, Lori was a retired employee of our school district, and what a tremendous evening. The sheriff and the judge and many other folks were there for this vigil, just reminding us about the dangers of drug addictions and prescription drug addictions too. And they praised our Face It program, by the way, and what we're doing is with diversion programs of students to really educate students. I also wanted to share that thank you for the support of my attending, and it was very successful, to the Florida Senate Education Committee, and that was just to work with the staff development components of it. Let me say that we were listened to in terms of the many things that are being placed onto school districts, none of which are bad. Mental health for 5 hours, child trafficking, all of these various elements. We're just asking for better coordination in terms of where and when, as the day is short and is being packed by so many different things. So it was a good meeting. We also were invited back. That's always a good sign. And we were invited back to provide some suggestions. So the Superintendent's Association and I too will continue to go back there, but are now developing some sound recommendations for our legislators in terms of when we want to provide a recommendation of how to, let's think it all the way through how this looks like during the day. So thank you for your support of being able to travel. Just this morning, a group of us met with Cognia, or with what used to be Advanced ED, and that's our accreditation agency that will be, it was served as a kickoff for our school district to go through the accreditation cycle. So just as a heads up, board members, those of you who are assigned to a committee, I know we started this and then we put it on the back burner because Advanced ED was being acquired by another company. That is done, and they have their structure very organized. And so we met this morning for about an hour and 15 minutes, and we're looking to set up some calendar dates. So dust off the old, but we'll do new, and I really appreciate the board's involvement in that. The College Board, as you know, give these opportunity scholarships, and the progression of students who work with the SAT, ACT, but really the SAT is what the College Board runs. They get on to Khan Academy, SATpractice.org. They've set up these various timelines for students. Then when students complete these things, they get put into a national kind of pool, and kind of a lottery system is what it's known. And we had 13 Pinellas County students win scholarships, which if you think about the whole nation, the odds of that, our students are really, truly performing so well, totaling over $10,000 in scholarship awards for our students. And so I want to say we just got a letter today because we're working with the College Board to try to set up the same type of system locally with our own businesses and with the Pinellas Education Foundation. So I'm very excited about it. I'll cover it in a future workshop with you, maybe perhaps with Dr. Byer. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to work with the National College Board recognition for opportunity scholarships. And this is not the same opportunity scholarships like we call an opportunity scholarship. This is from the College Board. I know they use the same exact title of it. My last thing is just a reminder as we move into the choice fairs that these start October 29th at Countryside High School, November 2nd at Pinellas Park High School, and November 4th at Lakewood High School. Truly, the best way to get the information is to go to our website, pcsb.org/choice. Gives you all the dates, locations, the fairs, and really any information that you need will be on there. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my report.
You're welcome, and thank you so very much for a very thorough report. Moving on to if we have any items to be introduced by the attorney, school board attorney.
No items, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, school board items by school board members. Ms. Lentino.
Well, actually, I was visiting Gulfport, the kindergarten class at Gulfport Montessori Elementary School, and it was just a very encouraging experience for me because we had 1 hour to sit in the classroom, but they were doing math work, and I was in the impression of doing reading work, and the low kids were really trying to do what they were going to do, and they flamed out. So I thought that that was something that was unavailable, and that was they were counting dots, and they had all the little people out, and they had the little bears, and I was hoping to get a reading in the plan, and there was a 1 hour a Monday, and 1 hour was on Wednesday. I was looking forward to being in the classroom on a Monday and a Wednesday, and we will see what will be happening. And I certainly appreciate everyone who's in the audience today.
Thank you. Dr. Carr and then Mr. Dudley.
Thank you. I just wanted to express some thank yous to some of the schools that I was able to visit since our last meeting. I had the opportunity to go to Lynch Elementary School, which was a very exciting place to be. I also was made aware of the fact that their PTA had won 2 national awards, one from Google and one from Mathnasium. So they were very proud of that accomplishment, as we should all be as well, to be recognized nationally in that way. And also just to speak volumes of their principal. So oftentimes we do have folks who move from one school to another, and when you see their staff want to go with them, that really does give some acknowledgement to the relationships and rapport built by the staff. I also had the opportunity to visit Mount Vernon Elementary, which was a fantastic, the grounds that they have a volunteer from the extension program who has native gardening and butterfly gardens taking place, and they were really impressive in the involvement that they have within the community. They're a school with one of the highest rates of homelessness in our district, and the trauma-informed instruction that their staff was providing to those students was commendable. And at the time they had a visiting group doing the bully presentation. And just to give kudos to the nutrition experts that they had in the kitchen, they had really taken on the school-wide initiatives to the point that the bananas, they had written the character words on the bananas, so when students were grabbing a banana, they were reinforcing the language that they had been focusing on, which was really impressive and cute too, right? And I also got to go to Ponce de Leon to see how things are going in their building, and I was so impressed how the principal there had put her office in the middle of the building. Rather than just being at the front office, she's engaged in the entire building, and how amazing it was to see some of our former ESP curriculum coaches working with our reading recovery and looking at how that program is going, and who better to really exemplify that than a former supervisor of reading. So that was a fantastic thing to see him put in place. I saw Dr. Cedric at Pinellas Park Middle. It's nice to see that the construction is making progress. As always, we like it to make it a little quicker because it is a challenge to get around that building, and yet he's out there with clear positive rapport with the students and engaged. And also at Meadowlawn Middle with the principal Paris and Dr. Gordon, who we know from Gibbs, formerly from Gibbs. So it was a very positive experience to have the opportunity to visit so many schools. I really was trying to see how things are going with our ESC rollout in middle school and how that implementation of reading's going in some of our elementaries. So lots going on there. Also, thank you to Lori Matway and Dr. Grego, who both serve on the board of the Starting Right Now. That was a moving ceremony luncheon that we were able to attend, and really appreciate the extra time that you commit to that organization, the great work being done by the group. And the Certificate of Distinction Awards. It was my first time to have the opportunity to attend that, and it was very moving, and I was really inspired by the leaders who came with their staff because they needed to provide that kind of support, and I hope we will continue to see our leadership provide support to those folks who are looking to get involved in the certification of distinction. Also, that busy night when I think we were all at something, girlfriends, and I was at the Pinellas County Council of PTAs, and as I mentioned earlier, Lynch won their awards, but also our own Pinellas County Council has received a national award for parent involvement. So they are really reaching out to be more inclusive and not put people in boxes as part of their initiative, and there was a great turnout at this month's meeting. So I know we all get a chance to go to that, and this was my chance. So, and also our congratulations to Beth Houghton, thank you, our new representative on JWB. Had the opportunity, I think we're all probably getting out to meet her, and that was a very positive experience, and both for me to listen and also for her to seek input from us. So we all know it starts with early intervention, and JWB being so heavily weighted in providing support in early intervention. So that's my report, and thank you for the opportunity to serve on the calendar committee as well. I'm really glad that we were able to move that forward tonight.
Great, sounds good. Thank you so much for your service. Mr. Dudley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This past week, we lost a truly great educator, a human being. Lee Benjamin, some of you had the opportunity to know him, know what a just fantastic person he was. For those of you who didn't get to know him, it's too bad, because this is a man of impeccable honor, and he just, this man truly loved children. And he was a true professional, an educator, and just an extraordinary man. He was loved by everyone. And when I made a comment in the newspaper, when they called me and they asked me to give a quote, the only thing I could think of among, well, it's not the only thing, but it was the one I thought there was probably solely Benjamin, is I never met anyone who did not like Lee Benjamin. Just a great guy. He was a soft giant. He was a giant among men. He was very, you know, I kid him. I used to kid him all the time. He played basketball at FSU, and he was on scholarship there. He was 5'6", 5'7", and I used to kid him. I said it must have been a 6-foot league or something. But he is inducted into the Florida State Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame, as well as Northeast High School's Hall of Fame. He was the first coach, basketball coach at Northeast. He was taught physical education there, and that's where I got to know him when I became a student there. He was the first coach I had. Now, he coached me in football because I certainly can't play basketball, but I coached him. He coached me in football, and then he was my teacher. And then later on, after I graduated from high school, yes, I did, and I went on to college, and I came back, and he became principal at Northeast High School, and he was the first principal that I had, and I used to kid him all the time. He had impeccable judgment and a keen sense of ability to select outstanding personnel. So he, anyway, so I was, and he also selected me to be the head wrestling coach, which I maintained that for 38 years. He was a real champion when we needed him the most. Integration in this 1970, 69, 70, 71, 72, Lee Benjamin was a principal at Northeast High School. You couldn't have picked a guy anywhere in the world that could do a better job. He just greeted everyone, treated everyone the same. He had a kind thing to say about kids are kids. And he would talk to them, and they'd get a little skirmish, and he'd pull them aside, and he'd talk to them in his own soft manner, and he just had a way of diffusing a situation, and we were very fortunate at our school and to have him as our principal. And he later, as I said, he was a coach, he was a teacher, he was the area superintendent, he was on the school board, and he loved education. He stayed in education, and I know when I ran for office, not just school board, but I ran for, when I was on St. Pete City Council, I looked for his guidance. I talked to him, and he just had the right things to say. He was a great man. And he was, like I say, he's a member of FSU Hall of Fame, Northeast Hall of Fame, and now he's a member of the Hall of Fame up there. There were about 500 people showed up Sunday at the celebration of life for him in Northeast High School gym that is named after him. And it's the Lee Benjamin Athletic Center. I'm gonna miss him. He's a great man. And all those of you who didn't have the opportunity, just listen and read about him and just think, maybe you should be like him. He's just a great person. Thank you.
Ms. Long, I see your light again. Did you have something else you wanted to say? Okay. I just have I'm sorry, Ms. Long.
That's
Sorry, Ms.
okay.
Lentino. Jesus.
Was,
It's getting late, y'all. It's been a long day. I'm sorry.
I just visited Dunedin High School this morning, and they were doing a tour with parents and students for the new junior achievement, and I was just flabbergasted how many individuals came. We're pulling from all over the district and from private schools. The kids were excited with what they were hearing and seeing. So this is a great opportunity for Pinellas County, and I'm excited it's going to be at Dunedin High and St. Pete High.
So, start there, that's right.
I guess we're all getting a little jumbled up on our words today, so just a couple of quick notes. I was honored to be the speaker for the Girlfriends group event at Largo High School, and it was extremely well attended by schools from the South County and North County, as well as their sponsors. It was a wonderful event. Thank you so much to Dr. Valerie Brim, Lori Matway, and their entire department for putting on such a wonderful event. And I'm so sad that I missed the ribbon cutting at Pinellas Technical College, Clearwater, but I heard you guys had a great time, so I'm so glad that that has happened. I want to give a shout out to Melrose Elementary School. They have a buddy program that they're utilizing that is working. Their fifth graders go into the kindergarten classroom and work with the kindergartners on how to read, and so I think that's just really wonderful because sometimes students learn best when they're working one with another. Just giving a shout out also to Principal Hepburn. He had a barbecue day where he and his leadership team fed the staff lunch, and it was a barbecue. And I was invited, couldn't make it, so he promised to make sure they save me a plate the next time. I was honored to serve on a panel for the Sankofa series at Eckerd College. It was put on by a group that's called Legacy 56. The group honors someone who's doing something within the community that deals with family and children. And this year they honored Dr. Sid Campbell. She's a graduate from here. She was a pediatric physician, but has now moved into the area of mental health. And she imparted some really good information to those of us that were in attendance as it relates to the mental health and stability, not just of children, but of adults as well. The panel piece that I had a chance to serve on was just to talk about the things that we're doing here in Pinellas County Schools as it relates to the mental health of our students. And so I was really excited to be a part of that. But also, a person who served on the panel was our own very Dr. Mary Connage, and she did a fabulous job. So a shout out to her. I didn't see her back there in the back tonight. And one of the things that they left us with, which was just the Maasai tribe's tender saying, which is, are the children well? Because if the children is well, it is thought and believed that the community is also well. And that's the framework from which the dialogue began. And it was pouring down raining, you guys, and people showed up. It was packed in there. So I was excited that people from the community wanted to come and wanted to hear all of the different things. I also had a chance to attend the 5,000 Role Models event that was at the Gustavro Center, very well attended. To see some of the parents there, it was like at 8 o'clock in the morning. So to see some parents, took off from work and made that sacrifice to be there. I have to give a kudos though to Countryside. If my count was right, Countryside High School had the greatest number of participants lining up there. So yeah, they were there in full force. So I was very excited about that. And I'm just also excited about what we're doing here in the district. There's a lot of new construction, renovation, a lot of movement going on, all for the betterment, for the improvement of our district. On tomorrow, I'll be traveling with school board member Carol Cook and Dr. Grego. We're going to Kentucky for the Great City Schools Conference. I'm looking forward to learning and for partnering with individuals, seeing what they're doing, but also sharing what we are doing here. This will be the first one I've ever attended, so I'm really looking forward to going. I will say to Miss Rita Vasquez, who's back there smiling, get ready because we're already a quarter of the way through school. So, I'll be calling you saying, where are our students? Are they graduating? Where are our students? How many do we need to help? So get ready for me because that's coming. And I just want to thank the schools that have already had their homecoming events. I don't know about you all, but I have not heard of anything that was not affirming as it relates to our students And so I'm glad about that, because I know every year we typically make announcements from the dais asking our students to drive safely. Please make sure that you're doing things that, you know, you should be doing, so that we don't read about something in the paper, because unfortunately, persons are speeding. Maybe it's not the student, it's someone else, and we've had to deal with that. But I haven't gotten any of that this year, and so I'm really excited about that. I feel pretty good about that. So those are all the things that I have. Are there any things, Dr. Corbett, that you were asked to follow up on?
I have no requests recorded tonight, Madam Chair.
No requests, all right. So there are no requests. We will go ahead and at this time adjourn our school board meeting, and then we will open it up for any speakers that we have from the audience. After our speakers from the audience, we will do our highs and lows in the back. Ms. Ann Simonetti.
Board members and Dr. Grego, we have 15 speakers this evening under general public comments. Our first two are Lenora Faulkner, who shared a handout that's at your chair, and Lee Bryant.
Good afternoon, Ms. Flowers and honorable school board members. God bless you in your work, serving especially our precious children. And I just want to thank God for Lee Benjamin and his lovely daughter. She was always very kind to me because she knew her father was always very kind to me. I am Lenore Faulkner, Florida educator since 1967. I was deeply involved in America's space program. At the University of Florida, I was an intern on our Space Coast. My students' parents worked on the Apollo spacecraft. Saturday was a special day. USF played football at Annapolis, the United States Naval Academy. Dad was a Hellcat fighter pilot, a dive bomber in the Pacific. He arrived at the Naval Academy in 1945 with the Navy aviators in graduate school in aeronautical engineering, the most difficult course at this time. That is my birthplace, January 3rd, 1946. I'm the oldest of 80 million baby boomers. I take it seriously. I fight for education excellence. Dad fought for public schools, not for charter schools or virtual schools. 2 years later, he returned to school on the GI Bill to complete his chemical engineering degree. Mom was an artist. I taught 8th grade chemistry at Pinellas Park Middle using art. Their chemistry magazines were on the internet in 1998. Next week time I'll talk about veterans, but I've been asked to go all over the world, but my son's been sick at the VA hospital in Tampa for 20 years, and I promised God I wouldn't go out of town. This is from a letter to me on April 21st, 2009, from Paige Keeley. Mrs. Faulkner is a senior science director at Maine Mathematics and Science Alliance in 2008 and 2009, president of the National Science Teachers Association. I am honored to have been selected as the leader in science education delegation to South Africa. I invite you to join me to participate in this important and international exchange in conjunction with People-to-People Citizen Ambassador Program. This delegation has been developed to foster one-to-one dialogue with our overseas counterparts and continue the tradition of professional diplomacy set forth by President Eisenhower in 1956. This delegation, specializing in science education, will convene in South Africa in 2009. I just thought this was interesting. At the bottom it says, we will arrive back in the United States on October 22nd, 2009. God bless.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Good evening, members of the board, Chair Flowers, Dr. Grego, and staff. My name is Lee Bryant, and in spite of the really attractive red shirt, I'm speaking on behalf of myself tonight. A couple of weeks ago, a
colleague of mine found a copy of the pay scale from Pinellas County Schools from 2005, 2006. I'm in my 24th year of teaching in Pinellas County, and I looked at the old pay scale for where I would be right now. 24 years back in 2005, 2006. 24 years experience with a bachelor's degree in that year was $54,400. The salary for me in 2019, 2020 is $55,008, a difference of only $608, a 1.1% increase in payroll overall in 14 years. During that same period of time, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the CPI in the Tampa metro area averaged 2.22% increase in the cost of living with a cumulative change of 33%. If the pay scale had just kept up with inflation rate over those years, the pay would have increased from $54,400 to $72,403. No one here expects us to be paying $72,000. I understand that. That's not what's going to be happening. But do we have to work year after year after year after year for decreasing purchasing power within the district? I understand we want to pay beginning teachers really well, and I'm fine with that. I love that idea. We need to pay everybody better than what we're doing. As the veteran teachers, we're the ones who guide those beginning teachers through those first very tough couple of years. We hold them together when they're falling apart, we pump them up when they doubt themselves, and we show them the way through when they start feeling lost. We're the veterans that guide them through. I'm a veteran. Young lady, ma'am just mentioned veterans. I'm a veteran. I was a petty officer in the Navy. You can't run an Army or a Navy without your non-commissioned officers. You can't have an Army or a Navy that consists of nothing but officers and privates. You have to have the NCOs compensated. You have to make them feel valued. And right now, many people in my boat at 24 years, we're not feeling the value. We're not feeling the attention that we think we deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you for the hand waves too. Thank you very much. I don't want anyone in the audience to think that we're not paying attention to what our speakers will say because we're not responding. We're in the process of some negotiations, and so we can't really respond and negotiate. So I don't want you to think that you're not being listened to, sir. But thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our next two speakers are Mike Gandolfo and Mark Clutho.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Grego, and staff. Great deal of good occurs each and every day in Pinellas County Schools. We see it in the videos and presentations from our students at school board meetings, and we hear it in the angelic tones of school choirs serenading us at these meetings, which usually causes me to want to stop at the nearest church on the way home. However, like a duck gliding across the lake, no one seems to see the frantic motions beneath the waterline that keep that duck moving, seemingly without effort. PCS has a great deal of frantic pedaling going on that falls mostly on its educators. The blistering pace that has been forced on educators is unrealistic, unhealthy, and is causing damage to generations of students. The problem is that this district has bought into a movement that cloaks itself in a veil of accountability, a movement that disregards the will of the people on class size in favor of a strategy of stack 'em deep and teach 'em cheap. It's about disrespecting experience and longevity in favor of a churn and burn policy. Get the best 5 years out of a teacher and then consider them disposable. The district saves money every time a veteran teacher leaves the profession and is replaced by a novice. We know the district saves money when classes are packed to capacity. But is it right to build your reserve funds on the backs of people who have devoted themselves to serving children? We can all be grateful to have an influential superintendent that goes to Tallahassee to make the case for more funding. But that does us a little good if he fails to notice the toxic climate that has become the trademark here in the district. This is my last year as president of PCTA. It has been my greatest honor to advocate for educators, students, and public education. I would have enjoyed leaving this district in a better place than when I took office, but the climate of fear that I have fought so hard against just keeps getting worse. So, while I enjoy working collaboratively with my counterparts here at the district, many of whom I consider friends, I do not have the luxury of time. This district too often supports ineffective administrators who use intimidation and bullying as if they were acceptable management tools. I do not plan to slow down as I answer that final round of my term. This is not part of my DNA. I plan to concentrate all my efforts on stamping out intimidation, retribution, and bullying, and see them replaced with the same restorative practices you would have our teachers use with their students. If I spend my final days as president working hard to get this done, that's okay. I won't be alone, because I plan on creating a lot of work for a good many people in this room. So let the work begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark Lutho, Largo. Listen, that's a joke. Last meeting, the chair made a stupid comment that I was somehow attacking those students from Tarpon Springs, which I did not. I was just doing a little segue into the fact that at Nona, the students would have to walk through water on the sidewalk out in front. I just can't believe how dense. But then twice she's called the dais up there a dais. Now, you can't expect someone that gets that wrong to realize whether or not they're building schools the right way, which you are not. Not even close. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this headline, Climate Panel foresees big trouble as Earth warms. Cause and effect, correlation. Get your dictionary, check out those words. The sixth extinction, an unnatural history. That's what you are bringing. It's malfeasance. And your public hearing, what about time certain? Aren't your public hearings supposed to have a time certain? Oh, no?
No, sir.
Well, how come it's 6 and it comes after the 7s? Can you count? Yeah, your games are all messed up, aren't they? This place is just one big joke. When you talk about how you're going to get things right, look at the lighting system here. Look at the lighting system. Imaging specular reflectors upside down. I mean, you people are just so pathetic, and the planet burns.
Thank you very much,
There
Mr.
will
Mark
be a day
Lutho.
of reckoning.
Next speaker, please.
Our next two speakers are Judy McGinnity and Karen Berman.
Good evening, School Board. Pleasure
Good
to be here
evening.
this evening. My name is Judy McGinnity, and I'm speaking on behalf of a FAST organization. We have visited with you many times in these meetings. And first, I'd like to publicly thank Eileen Long for meeting with us 2 weeks ago and bringing the restorative practice discussion back to your last workshop. Thank you again, Mrs. Long. At that workshop, frustration had been expressed over our demands for an improvement in the restorative practice implementation. And we too are concerned with some of the content of these conversations. So we want to be clear on a couple of the following points. We do support your efforts to provide teachers in our district introductory training on restorative practices. We are grateful that the district has begun this implementation, this process, and we support your efforts. However, what has been done to date is not enough. If we want the program to work in the way it is supposed to, we know that based on research and based on visits to other districts implementing these programs, Louisville being one of them, based on the feedback we are hearing from our teachers and students here, we are asking you to build off of the training that has already been provided. We are not asking you to throw away the time or the money that has already been invested in our teachers and our schools. We are not asking you to stop what is already being done in our schools. We are asking you to build on that foundation by implementing restorative practices fully in 10 schools specifically chosen in our district. This way, we can see the impact of a full continuum of restorative practices in our schools. It makes no sense to implement restorative practices halfway. It only makes sense to implement the entire program. That is why we are asking you to find a way to implement restorative practices fully in 10 schools in a pilot program in our district as a cohort to building upon the work that is already being done. I thank you for your time. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Berman, and I have a daughter who attends Gibbs High School, and I'm a member of FAST from Temple Bethel in St. Petersburg. Restorative practices are vital for students who are struggling to feel supported and accepted by their teachers, to develop school skills and in empathy and coping, and this means more time for teaching, less stress, better overall outcomes, addressing root causes, and developing real-life skills. As one popular commercial says, it's invaluable. However, restorative practices is not working as effectively as they should and need to be here in Pinellas County. Why? While we thank you for knowing the value of restorative practices, Pinellas County schools have only implemented them halfway. In order for teachers to be able to make this successful, they need continuous, ongoing expert training and support. We heard firsthand from teachers that during the summer, they received a short 1-hour training that was grouped with other trainings. As I always encourage my children, that when you start something, you must put in your best effort. To do it halfway is not to give it your all. And that is not how we achieve success in our schoolwork, programs, and in life. We must gather all of the appropriate tools for success, and our children who are struggling cannot wait any longer for those tools. Please take the necessary steps to ensure that restorative practices are implemented properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next two speakers, please. And Ann Preyes.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Wobble, and I'm here today with FAST. I have a son at Perkins Elementary in St. Petersburg. We want to take this time to touch on formal restorative conferencing, which is not currently happening in our district. We are concerned that there is confusion around what this is and what this is not. Formal restorative conferencing is a tool that is critical for restorative practices implementation to be a success. It is a tool that is used for the most serious infractions in schools. From the IIRP website, I'd like to read some information. On a restorative practices continuum, informal restorative practices include effective statements that communicate people's feelings, as well as effective questions that cause people to reflect on how their behavior has affected others. This is much of what we are doing right now in our schools. These informal practices include the circles, groups, strategies, and more that our district has been introduced to. I'll continue. Moving from left to right on the continuum, as restorative practices become more formal, they are more structured and complete. A formal restorative conference is a specific process with defined protocols that brings together those who have caused harm through their wrongdoing with those that they have directly or indirectly harmed. This is a tool for serious discipline in our schools. I'll continue. The aim of restorative practices is to develop community through informal practices, i.e. what we are doing now, and to manage conflict and tensions through formal practices, through restorative conferences. It identifies both proactive approaches like building relationships and developing community, and the reactive approaches of repairing harm and restoring relationships. In other words, we need both sides of the equation, the proactive and the informal, which is what we have begun to implement here in Pinellas, and the reactive and the more formal, which is what we are desperately missing in the implementation process. This more formal piece is what is required to address serious discipline issues in the schools. Restorative conferencing holds students accountable for their actions and addresses the need for an alternative to referrals and suspensions. And lastly, for both sides of this equation, we must add ongoing coaching and support. This is the restorative practices equation, and as of now, we are barely doing half of it. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. And I also want to say, as a side thought, I thank the school board members that are visiting the schools. I taught for 37 years, but I'm sad that I feel the need to speak again. 6 years ago, I spoke to you all about the stress and strain teachers were under. I had taken 2 ambulance rides from my school within 6 weeks because of my heart. I asked you to listen to us then. I retired last Halloween after 37 years of teaching, but I still volunteer at my old school. I still have a passion for teaching and for children, especially children in Title I schools and poverty schools. But sometimes it feels as if when you're sitting up there looking down at us, that you don't consider us part of the equation. My teacher friends tell me it's getting harder, not easier. There are expectations that we will work over contract hours as a given. If we speak out, we're told, I guess you just don't care about your students. But it is an issue. It's a health issue. It's also an issue that we get to spend time with our families and our children. And as my friend Lee Bryan said, many of them need to get second jobs. I have a friend who's been teaching for 23 years and told me today she needs a second job because the pay has been locked in at a flat schedule. Everything else is not. We are supposed to be on the same team. We're supposed to work for the same students, same goals. We are not the enemy. I know Tallahassee considers us that, but they own charter schools. For-profit charter schools. You do what profits, if you want to profit from a profit school, you're going to look for the money. So I'm here asking you again, please listen to us. The best of the best are speaking to you. When these teachers come up and talk to you, they know they're probably going to be called on the carpet the next day. I was told, why did you talk? But they are hardworking, dedicated, some of your best. So I plead with you, please listen to us. Thank you very much.
Our next 2 speakers are Nancy Velarde and Kerry Nelson.
Good evening. Let me begin by reminding everyone that teachers love to teach. It's their calling, their passion, their great love. As Jeff Bezos says, you don't choose your passions, they choose you. Every teacher I know feels this way. I feel this way. I left a financially lucrative corporate position in publishing, which left me cold and unfulfilled, to become a teacher. Yet, since the governor's ill-conceived announcement recently about raises, the assumption that all teachers care about is money has dominated the media. Yes, they would like to be able to pay their bills without worry and not be forced to hold a second or, dare I say, third job. A livable wage is a fair expectation. But money is not the reason educators are abandoning the profession they love, nursing their broken hearts. The crux of the problem is respect, or more specifically, the lack of it. The complete loss of autonomy and agency in the classroom has been soul-crushing for those of us who treasure being educators. If the popular trend of using a business model for schools is to work at all, shouldn't the model be based on successful businesses? Steve Jobs, founder of one such business, said, "It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do." Your teachers know what to do and need to be trusted to do what they love without constant interference. Another issue is our existing contract. This document is an agreement that was painstakingly hammered out through the years by dedicated people of the Pinellas District and the Teachers Union. It is signed, sealed, and delivered agreement that members of both organizations have worked hours creating and recreating. Neither side believes this document is perfect, but it is a finalized agreement. It should not be open for personal interpretation at each individual work site, no matter where the facility may be or what designation it holds. It should never be willingly violated to suit individual needs. I respectfully request that administrators in our work sites be reminded that this is a document to be honored and adhered to, and not open to personal interpretation. The protection of teacher working conditions is pivotal to successful schools and the small souls that enter those portals. Our students trust us to protect them, nurture their learning, and inspire their growth. Your teachers are asking that they be able to trust you to do the same for us. Last quote, Stephen Covey, "Always treat your employees exactly as you want them to treat your best customers." Our students are the best.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Carrie Nelson, and I'm a working mom of 2 children who depends on the daily bus routes. I've passed out some spreadsheets that track time and notifications we've received about late buses. As it was earlier mentioned, we're about a quarter of the way through the school year. The data I have on 82 trips, 13% of the time the bus was on time in the morning. 3 days, the bus never even showed up to pick up our kids. In the afternoon, 73% of the time of our bus route, the kids are waiting more than 15 minutes at school to even get on the bus. And that's kind of being generous. It's more 20, 25 minutes late. The past month, 76% of the time I have had to drive the kids to school due to the bus being late or unreliable. 12% of the time, the bus was confirmed on time. My pickup times have changed about 7 times, from 8:06, 8:07, 8:13, 17, 13, 8:05, and apparently tomorrow it's supposed to be 8:12. The number of bus drivers we've had, 8, 10, 12, I don't know, I've lost count. These are people that are just picking up the bus route. They don't know our neighborhoods. They take different routes constantly. I've had 18 extra hours of work to make up lost time in the past month. That's 18 hours I've lost with my family, 18 hours I could have had with my kids. I'm lucky my employer understands and that I still have a job. I've had dozens of calls to transportation and the school board, several emails to the board that have gone unanswered. Honestly, with the exception of Ms. Lentino, who actually came to my work and spoke to me about this situation, I'm extremely disappointed with the lack of communication and response this board has had with our constituents. Why do we need this problem fixed? Buses should run on time and have dedicated bus drivers for each route. Why? It's plain and simple, safety. On September 17th, my young son was on the bus for over 45 minutes. He should be dropped off within 15 minutes of being picked up at school. When he didn't arrive, I was frantic. I made calls to the school. I had my husband drive throughout the neighborhood and contacted anyone that could have any bus info. He was late because once again we had a substitute driver who apparently made a wrong turn. It must have been some wrong turn though, since our stop is only 4.5 miles from the school. My little boy was scared driving through the neighborhoods he wasn't familiar with. I hope none of you ever have to experience that sick feeling when your child is missing. This morning, actually, another example. The bus speedily drove right past our stop as I was on the phone with transportation trying to find out how late the bus was going to be this morning. I usually give it 10 minutes before I call them. Again, a substitute driver who was not only late and missed our stop, but she also made a wrong turn and ended up on a dead-end street on Queensboro Ave South and 48 Ave South. It took her 5 minutes to maneuver out and get back on the route. Our kids arrived at school at 8:51 today. If you're wondering how I know this, I've had to equip my child with a GPS tracker since I can't depend on the bus drivers to know the routes. It saddens me that I've had to do this. So what has been done so far? Bus times have been changed, routes have been combined so that bus drivers go to several schools, have multiple kids from multiple schools on the bus. Stops have been eliminated, and nothing has worked. I hope that you can read my data.
Thank you. We're going to ask Mr. Clint Herbig, who oversees others with the Transportation Department.
Actually, if Mr. Hagewood could raise his hand there, he's the Director of Transportation, he can help you.
Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Casey Nelson and Brad DeCourt. Before we go to the next couple of bus drivers, first I do want to say to the mom, thank you so very much for coming today. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the diagram you've provided with us. I'm not saying this, to try to give an excuse, but we are short bus drivers, and we have had bus drivers picking up other routes. They'll go drop off of school and get back. We've tried to be creative in the way that we have looked at hiring additional bus drivers. We even train them internally now. It's just difficult to get bus drivers. I'm not saying that suffices. I'm just sharing that with you. But I'm sorry if I didn't return your call, because I've gotten a number of emails and calls, and I try to get back to them right away, or either I hand them off to Mr. Clint Herbig and ask him to please follow up, and usually he gets back with me very quickly on whatever happens, to try to resolve the situation. But I just want you to know that all of us are very concerned about that as it relates to transportation, because I could only imagine when you're not sure where your student is when they should be home a certain time. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sharing this information for the documentation. If you don't mind, that's your daughter?
My daughter.
After your daughter speaks, because you probably want to stand up there with her, to please speak to our staff that's back there in the back, and let's see what we can do. And again, we apologize. But we're working on it. I know that's probably not going to give you any relaxation in it, but we're working on it, and I'm so grateful that even your place of employment has really worked with you on that to make sure that not just your student, but you've worked with other students to get them there safely. So thank you so very much. We'll hear from your daughter and then speak to staff. Hi.
Good evening, board members. My name is Casey Nelson. I am in 5th grade at Maryland IB, and I'm here to tell you how the late bus times has hurt my school year. When I get to school, I have to rush to get where I need to be, the newsroom or my classroom. This stresses me out and makes me feel horrible inside. Once I get to the location, I must rush to complete my morning assignment or make sure the news broadcast starts on time. I volunteer to work at school news and safety patrol, and I shouldn't be limited to my choices by the buses being late. I have to be at the newsroom by 8:45 a.m., which is impossible since that's the time the bus arrives at school. By the way, it is scheduled to arrive at school at 8:35 a.m. In the afternoon, I need to work different stations for patrol, and not knowing what the bus is going to pick me up, I don't know how long I'll be able to work and help out. When we are waiting at the bus stop, it wastes our time since with inconsistent bus pickup times, I don't know if I have time to take out my work to do it and put it back in my backpack. The time we wait for the bus to come can range by a lot, and when we are waiting, my mother calls the district to see how late the bus is going to be. Sometimes the times they give us aren't even close to the times the bus actually arrives. When the bus is late in the afternoon, I'm not able to get done what I need to get done for homework. For example, I had a science project a week ago, and one of the days the bus was late, I was planning on finishing up my trials for the science experiment. I ended up having to stay up late to finish my trials. The late buses has also affected my sleep schedule. When we get the text saying the bus will be late, I then have to wake up early, get ready faster so my mother can drop us off at school. By the time I fall asleep and wake up, I don't really get enough sleep compared to the amount I need. Not only is the bus late, the students on the bus are late to school, the parents waiting with their kids for the bus are late to their jobs, and the other routes the bus driver drives will be late too. Everybody is affected by the buses being late. As you can see, the buses being late has affected me, other students, bus drivers, and parents. That's why you should change the bus times, hire more drivers, test the bus route times over the summer, and whatever else is necessary to get students like myself safely to school on time. Thank you.
Well said, young lady. Well said. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Grego and staff, my name is Brad DeCordy, and I am an 8th grade teacher here in Pinellas. Walt Disney said that our greatest natural resource is the minds of our children. That may be, but we have another resource in Pinellas County that we are at risk of losing. That resource is the veteran teacher. We risk losing the knowledge and ability of these veterans teachers because of the lack of respect given to them. 18 months ago, when my wife unexpectedly passed away, I was forced to take a hard look at my life and what I had given up for this job, and whether I could continue my job in this district or not. I had to look at the time it took me away from my family. During the last 20 years, I've put my family second many times, when I should not have had to do that. It was either because of a second job, which many in classrooms across the district must have to survive, or having to work at home to get everything finished that we all must do. My wife would ask me to do something or go somewhere, but I was too busy with lesson plans or grading 140 essays to take the time to be with my family. And now I cannot get that time back. Even when we would go somewhere, I would take my school bags and be working in a hotel room in Orlando, Mississippi while visiting family. I am sure that I am not the only one dealing with these issues. We should not have to take time away from our families to do our job, but we don't always have a choice. Since we don't have the chance to finish everything, we must finish in the time allowed at school, as more and more expectations are put upon us every year. I also had to decide if I could afford to continue teaching. When I look around at my fellow teachers, I can probably say with confidence that nobody got into teaching to get rich. We got into this profession because we were called to it. I love teaching, but I also need to support a family. With the passing of my wife, my family income was cut in half. Pinellas is not a cheap place to live, and the salary we have does not make it easy to live here. Every year we must wonder if we will make enough to make ends meet. A person working here should not have to wonder every year whether they will make it through the year or not. A professional, and we are professionals, should be able to support a family without having to have a second job just to survive. The working conditions and the salary must get better. We cannot survive as it is now. More and more students are being added to classes, which has caused more work and stress to teachers. Now, I do believe that the state allows districts to ignore the will of the people, even though the people voted for a class size amendment. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. The stress of the workloads and the worry about taking care of our families is causing more and more educators to leave the profession. Many educators are developing stress-related illnesses. Who can blame them for leaving? We need to do something to keep the educators we have, because there may not be that many coming in the future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Colleen Parker and Ryan Hrzerski.
Good evening. It's been a while since I've spoken to you all.
The first thing I want to say is my classroom's in Building 4, third floor of St. Pete High that was brought up earlier. And I want to thank Mr. Herbick for getting new carpeting in my room. It took a while. It's beautiful. It adds to the room immensely. When the graduation dates came out recently, I saw June 1st for St. Pete High at 2:45. I was excited because I'm like, oh good, I don't have to do 2 sets of exams, one for the seniors early and one for underclass. Oh good, I don't have to prepare the exam waiver list twice. I can do it just once. And most importantly, on June 1st, all the teachers could go to graduation instead of having a split schedule. Then today, I was out for the last 3 days. Today I see that it was changed. And it went from a wonderful to a nightmare, because now our graduation is scheduled at May 23rd, which is a Saturday, a holiday weekend, okay? And the teachers are supposed to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. That means I'm going back to double exam waiver list, double exams because I teach 9 through 12. And as some of you know, I've read the contract a few times through from beginning to end, maybe about 20. And I don't know of anything in that contract that will mandate that a teacher is going to have to attend a graduation on a weekend, on a Saturday. And I sat there, Mr. Bennett was our principal for over 10 years, and I knew him well enough to know when I went in with a problem to come up with a solution or a proposed solution. And I don't know whether anybody here has ever approached, because let's face it, graduation dates are based on a baseball schedule. I don't know whether anybody has even thought about approaching the Rays and saying, hey, do you think Toronto can flip-flop? And can the Rays be away that week instead of having Toronto be with the Rays that first week, and just do a flip-flop of 3 games with 2 teams? Thank you.
FYI, the baseball schedule is not set by the Rays, it is set by Major League Baseball. So that's who you have to go to. It's not the Rays.
Good evening again, everyone. Ryan Hazinski, Hillsborough County 16-year veteran educator. I love numbers, and so many of the issues that were brought up here, I taught math and social studies, and I'm just a huge nerd. But I love numbers, and they tell a really compelling story without any kind of context. So let's start with this. $1 trillion economy. That's what Florida generates as GDP. We are the 3rd most populous state in the U.S. We are the 4th largest economy in America, 17th largest economy in the world. And somehow, the Florida legislature seems it is fit to fund us at 45th in the U.S. for public education spending, 48th for average teacher pay, and 50th, dead last, for adjusted for inflation dollars since the end of the Great Recession. The issues that were brought up here by my fellow educators are all revolve around this, every single bit of it. More numbers for context. 2007, 2008, the high watermark for pupil spending. Since that time, the Florida budget has ballooned nearly 40%, 38.9%, the entire Florida budget. You would think that there would be equity for education, right? No, 14% is what Florida, the education system, has gotten. In fact, you see the decrease in the total revenue for the budget. It used to be 34%, now it's down to 28%, so a decrease in 6% total budget in Florida. And who pays? Every single person in this system. We all do. Chair Flowers, you said that the children are well and our community is well. I would beg to differ. When you think about the fact that...
that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Well, I mean, maybe not but in the sense that when you think about in most counties, the school board is the largest employer. We've been left out of the economic recovery, as many of the teachers noted. You do deserve $72,000, sir. Any veteran teacher does. And if they had kept up with inflation, this would have not been an issue. So we need to do something different because voting in a gerrymandered state with closed primaries, I'm an NPA. I'm a centrist. I have no voice. I have no say. But yet, the Florida Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 says all political power is inherent in the people. Maybe it's time we start a people-powered movement. Maybe it's time we take a stand together. Board members, superintendents, educators, everyone who touches a child's life deserves better, deserves the respect, deserves the salary. More importantly, our children deserve better. They don't need all this testing. So I'm asking every educator throughout the state to take a personal day on January 14th. If you're a parent, don't send your kids to school that day. Let's, on the first day of legislative session, band together and show the legislature that we will not tolerate this any longer. Thank you so much for your time. And as I remind often everyone, when we are silent, we are complicit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hasinski. And what I read was just a quote from the Maasai tribe that asks the question, are the children well? I asked the question. I didn't say they were. And I said, when the children aren't well, then the village is not well. That's what I was saying.
And thank you for the correction.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it. You're not well.
Next speaker, please.
Our final speaker this evening is Laura McCullough.
Hi, it's been a while since I've been up here. You inspired me this evening, Dr. Carr, when you said, thank you for making students first in the calendar. And then I heard Bill Dudley over here saying what great things about Lee Benjamin, about kids are kids, right? This district does not put students first. I'm letting you know that right now. Who is putting kids first in a calendar that prioritizes exams and testing? I'm a middle school teacher. Testing is still out of control. I've spoken to the board many times about this. I've talked about my students and the toll that the testing takes on them. It's absurd to think that this district puts children first when middle school students are tested in PE. Come on, guys. This is not right. PE and every other subject. And don't forget, it's right before Christmas. Remember, kids are kids, right? We have to spend 90-minute blocks, which have now turned into 2-hour blocks, the last week of school before Christmas testing our middle school kids. Kids are kids, right? Is that a good choice for them to take them off their schedule and put them through rigorous testing? Oh my gosh. Let's look at the curve before we say it's rigorous. 17% is passing. Did you know that 17% is passing? I know, you might not know that, but it's true. Yes, I'm a middle school teacher for 26 years, and rigor is a thing for tests. It's not a thing for middle school students, okay? Rigor is 1D passes for the year. That's your rigor. How is this good for kids? You know? Whew. Thank you for inspiring me, Dr. Carr. Oh, okay. You know what? And now I'm going to talk about teachers because I am a teacher. And salary compression is a real issue that we face here in Pinellas County. We already talked about the coverage of the news, how new teachers, they're looking to make $47,000. He hasn't decided where that money is coming from, maybe best and brightest, I don't know. But what happens to us? I'm 26 years in. I really want to retire with a living wage. You know, if the beginning teachers are making $47,000, that's good for them, and it's the greatest thing that would ever happen. But salary compression is painful. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no more speakers. As always, I like to try to end the evening with a positive quote. And just to share that to our guest, Mr. Hasinski, thank you for coming. Every district's rules are just a little different, so Again, we do apologize that there was a little confusion there in the beginning with your comments, but we do thank you for coming over and sharing with us. The quote that I have for today is by Mr. Henry Brooke Adams, and it says, "Teachers affect eternity. No one can tell where their influence stops." Thank you all so very much. Have a good evening.
A few times through from beginning to end.